Hello, can you hear me? This is a sound test.
This is a sound test that works.
Great, thanks.
I'm in the car right now, so I won't be very talky today. So maybe if I'm not fast enough, you can say the right stuff. I don't know.
I will. Okay.
Good. The retreat is finally wrapped up, but not yet everyone is ready to leave, so I need to wait here.
Oh, okay, no problem.
But soon I will be starting driving,
Okay.
and then I will be very distracted.
No problem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right, I guess we can go ahead and get started. It looks like we are missing quite a few people, so I'm not sure which updates we'll get through today because I don't see Mar, I don't see Vipin, I don't see.
So there is a festival in India, so very few people from India will be able to join today.
Understood. Okay, no worries. Then I guess we can skip down to you, Shubham, for DevOps updates.
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm in the process of restructuring our Terraform code for using the latest build. But I'm getting few errors when I'm trying to mount EFS volumes to the pods. Volumes are creating, that process is done. But when I'm trying to create a pod, it's not able to mount, and I'm trying to fix it. If somebody have done this process and they can help me out with this, yeah, it'd be great. Otherwise, I'm anyway working on the fix, and that's it. This is from my side, and Tim is continuing his work on the migration side for the new Artifactory. And from TNG team, people are asking about the access for that CI email we have a CI email which controls the Firebase account. Max, do you have the access for that?
Sorry, I have not yet checked. I don't know if I have the access. I think we discussed that at some point, but I'm just not sure.
Okay, so if you don't have access, then let me know. I'll pass on the credentials to you. Then you can distribute that among your teams. This is one part. Another thing that OAI team is also asking for the AWS credentials. Sagar is here, Frank is here, so they can pick this topic. Sagar?
Yeah. So for Shubham, for AWS, Ashwin noted that you helped get that migrated over to LF, but it doesn't seem like LFIT knows anything about it. Do you know if that actually got migrated over? Because if not, then it might be that Meta still has access to that, and that's why LFIT hasn't been much help.
So Meta had their different AWS accounts. This one we specifically created for like LF created for these purposes, like Magma community usage. Yeah. If in terms of creating new account, I also have admin permission. Max also have admin permissions. We all have admin permissions, so we can give access. It's more about who can get the access or not, because Max pointed out that we have to get TSC approval because this will cost some financial stuff. And so once we have the approval, then yeah, we can move forward.
Okay.
I think, yeah, for discussing that, we need to understand how much it would cost. And that's why there was the ask for estimation.
Okay, so Sagar, would you like to point something here?
Yeah, thanks, Shubham. So me and Frank, we did some estimation. We don't have, because, so there can be, the correct estimation will depend on the CI runs and the kind of exact resources which we will have. So Frank has some estimation he can share here, but we're gonna have we're gonna send a table tomorrow, because I guess even Govind is not here today. So we're gonna share a table on the thread so that everybody can see how much it's gonna be. But Frank can share some information.
Okay, that will be great, Sagar. So Frank, one suggestion. When you're building an estimate, if this is specifically for the CI, try using spot instances for your graph, because if once our work is done, we can just remove the instance. And if we are using spot instance, we can get up to 90% discount on the instance price. So we can reduce price there. So just calculate with using spot instance, right?
Yeah, so yeah, for now I'm using on demand and reserved instances. So yeah, the next step will be a comparison between this on demand and reserved and spot. But if you want, I can share my first calculation with you. Here, can I share my screen?
Yeah, please go
ahead. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the monthly cost for the setup that I try to estimate. The thing is that I have 3 instances, 2 instances with the same amount of storage and the flavor of CPE RAM, which is where is it? I was using 2 virtual CPEs and 8 gig of RAM. So for that I was using those 2 instances are for the S1 IP and traffic generator, and another one for the access gateway, which has like 100 gigabyte of storage, and for the flavor is 4 virtual CPUs and 16 gig of RAM. The thing is that what makes the price expensive is the data traffic inbound and outbound of the AWS. That's why it's a little bit expensive, 138, and here 172 per month. And the second thing is when we create a virtual private cloud, VPC, which is very, very expensive because we're using attachment. So here, say a number of attachment to the transit gateway. So when we use this, the price is very expensive. So for now, I don't know how and if it is possible to avoid this and use the default VPC of the AWS for our setup, because we're using specific IPs and specific VPC with 192.68 and so on. So that's why we have this amount of resources. And the strategy that I used is on demand reserve the resources. So we are paying less than on demand resources. When you pay from the beginning for total amount of 12, so 1 year, you pay for 1 year, you make a reservation for 1 year. So it's less expensive than just you pay on demand resources. And now the next step is to make only spot resources and compare between the two.
Okay, so Frank, VPC itself doesn't cost us anything. The peering connection which are making, that must be costing you this much of amount. And we have to understand our nature of work, which is just for the CI. The reserve instances we only use if we have a production server and we have to do a long-term commitment. In that scenario, we take the reserve instances. Otherwise, we can just use the on-demand instances. It works the same way. And if our work is very temporary, then yeah, we can go ahead with the spot instance.
So here for the peaks, I was using a fluctuation on a week. So the peak I put like 1 hour and 30 minutes for each peak. Okay.
Yeah, because your type is type like family AWS instance family is type T, because in T type you get some boost points and you can use those boost points. So if you know how to manage that, then you can save a lot of money with the type T instances. But you have to understand that if you're doing a build, let's say for a new commit, your build will take around how much, 3, 4, 5 hours. And after that, you can just get rid of that instance. So you can just, for saving the price, if you need more CPU, first you have to calculate, if you are doing a build, how much CPU you're using, how much RAM you're using, and how much storage you are using. And based on that, you can like opt for that instance. So because if you move toward T-type instance, in the less price, you can get more config compared to you, let's say you you have in the second description, you have to choose the M family, which will give you more memory. If you need that more memory, then yeah, you can go ahead. If you need more CPU, then you can go to the C type family. But yeah, T overall give you the best of both worlds. But yeah, you have to manage your IOPS and all these things. Yeah, so we can work on this. But yeah, I will strongly suggest, because this is just a CI jobs, just move towards the spot instance. You will like have 70 to 80% discount on all these prices.
Okay, so I will make calculation with the spot instances, but just to say something, for the flavor that I'm using here for the S1 AP and the access gateway, 2 vCPUs and 8 gig of RAM, and here for virtual CPUs 16 gigabyte of RAM is based on what is done on the Magma website. So I'm let's say I'm using this kind of informations.
Yeah, that you must be using for like in production, whatever we have in our Terraform code, we use certain type of instances that is for running the let's say Kubernetes cluster, all those instances.
Yeah.
You are just doing CI jobs, and that can be mostly for access gateway, and you are using this specifically for ARM, and we don't have any standard for ARM right now. So we have to see when we are building stuff, how much of CPU consumption we have to calculate from end to end. Because if we fail to estimate in the right manner, AWS will bill us a lot. This has happened in the past, that one of our Docker container like was running, and AWS billed us a lot. So I like noted it out, and I told Govind, okay, just stop those Docker instances once you're done. So we have to be very careful with the T-type instances.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's calculate this again with the spot instances. Then yeah, we can discuss again, I guess.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more suggestions from anyone?
Hey Shubham, spot instance is the conclusion, is it?
So our nature of work is just CI jobs. We can just spin up a new instance. We can do our build. It can be 6 hours or 12 hours. After that, we can just get rid of that instance. So we don't need a production environment. So for that, spot instance is the best choice for us. It will give us up to 90% discount. So that's a great deal.
Do we need to get the vote here?
So once OA have new chart, let's get the calculations. Okay, this much these things will cost us. Then yeah, we can vote. But yeah, others can also suggest.
Okay, so Sagar will get back on that, and then we have to start the voting at that time.
And we should ask if the budget for AWS has that amount of money left, or I don't know, it's there might be other constraints that we also should try to understand before voting.
Okay, so Max, so this is the one of the options, right? So other alternatives, if anybody have any other recommendation, we can consider that. So far, spot instance is the only solution, right? If there are any cheaper solution, we can definitely consider that. So whenever we do the voting, we have to choose spot instance versus the other if somebody has a suggestion. So far, we can go with spot instance, and how should we check whether the budget is available for that?
Yes, and we can use the cheaper networking.
Your voice is breaking.
Option. Oh, sorry, I'm driving. I was suggesting to get rid of hard-coded IPs and use instead dynamic or the IPs given in the corresponding network, and then we can just use the cheap.
Okay, so you looks like you have some suggestion. I think you are agreeing to the spot instance, and you're suggesting on the dynamic IP. I did not hear after that. So the takeaway here is OAI team will get back So what information is requested from them? Whether spot instance will work for them, kind of information, or what do we need from OAI team to conclude on this?
So we need new estimations which are based on spot instances.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Just
All right.
another thing which I
This network
want to.
Yes, Sagar. go
Sorry,
ahead.
sorry. I just want to mention another thing. So in the dashboard now we see that there is this AGW ARM build. So what we were thinking that for the LT integration, it does not make any sense that we try to rebuild, right? We should just reuse the build which is done there. Once it's done, then we can start testing in the LT. This way we will save a lot of costs too, because if we just rebuild, it's a waste of resources.
You're right. You're right. We can use that.
So
yeah, you don't need to build Sagar. You can use the artifact that's already getting built, and then you have to use those binaries in your test.
Is it done yet or not? Because I still don't see that on the dashboard.
So there is some dashboard issue which Tim and Shubham were working. So that's a GUI issue, but CA build as such is working fine.
Okay. I gotta have a look on those artifacts then, yeah.
Okay. So you're going to give your estimate to pick that artifact and run S1AP test, right? So how much it costs to use a spot instance. If you come back with that, then we can conclude on this, right?
Okay, perfect. Let's try. We'll try to do that. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, we can go to Lucas for security updates.
Okay, I'm unmuted. All right, so in the past week, I worked mainly on documentation. There are two things I wanted to raise that are useful to the community as a whole. Yes, this is the right window. Okay, so I have a big documentation push with a lot of small things in it, related both to the contributor guide and also secure deployment documentation. This is currently blocked on a build problem, which comes out to this one here. You can see yarn not found. This is happening in Netlify. And the related issue is Fritz brings up whether we even want that. Let me find the Slack thread. Actually, I'll just paste a link to the Slack thread. While I'm finding that, are there any thoughts so far?
I think if no one speaks up that we use or need Netlify, we should just remove that as GitHub action.
Yeah, so here's the conversation, and these are the actions that we're talking about. The first question is, do we use this service productively? What does it accomplish for us?
I never heard of this service that we are using is, so I would go with Max's suggestion, and if nobody speaks up, create an issue to remove this.
Maybe that's a large enough thing to call for, I don't know, consensus, if not a vote. What are your thoughts, Kendall?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What are your thoughts on the right process for establishing consensus to remove Netlify entirely?
I mean, do we have anyone actually using it, and are we paying for it?
As far as I know, it's unused and it's unclear how it found its way into CI. And I will.
Max, your voice is breaking.
Maybe
Max, if you can hear me, we can just not understand you currently.
I wonder if there are other people who have thoughts on whether we use it, whether it costs anything, and whether there are any downsides to disabling those two actions.
So I guess we can vote for all these. We can like create a new proposal and then vote for removing this. And meanwhile, if somebody have okay that we are using it, so we can just post this on a channel and they can point it out.
Do we want a proper proposal or just a consensus vote on it?
Yeah, I think just a consensus vote on the Slack will do. We don't need a proper GitHub proposal for this.
Who is the owner of calling for that consensus vote?
I can help with that, Lucas.
Okay, bad. So that is it from me. Thanks for this time.
Thanks, Lucas. Okay, it doesn't look like we have Rashmi today, so we will go to Nils for the Basil effort.
Yeah, hi everybody. Let me share my screen. So for the current iteration, I mean, this is from the last time. As already known, we don't plan to build the Docker artifacts with Bazel, but there is still a proof of concept ongoing to see if building the artifacts with Docker will improve developer experience. The first iteration of this POC looks very promising. So we might need bring up this topic again to see if we want to exchange our Docker files by Bazel definitions. Next one, executing tests, integration tests with Bazel. This has performance problems, and this is actually a problem with Bazel because integration tests are kind of not really covered with Bazel because Bazel benefits from massive caching. So tests are only executed if there are actually changes, and integration tests always need to be executed. So there's not much benefit from caching for integration tests. So we might not want to use Bazel at all for the execution of the test. We build the services, of course, with Bazel, but we will not execute the integration tests with Bazel. So currently they are directly executed with PyTest, of course, in a make file. So we might want to leave it as it is, or even change this to a shell script, for example, if we want to get rid of the make files at all. The next big part where we are working on is the developer experience. So scanning the documentation for mentioning of make targets and creating convenient targets with Bazel to replace them. Another thing for developer experience is preparing IDEs for code navigation with Bazel. So for example, we have a lot of pip dependencies, and we have our on-the-fly built protobuf libraries that needs to be navigated through with IDEs, and this needs to be set up with Bazel. And we have currently many detailed improvements ongoing to make the experience with Bazel working with Magma more beneficial. Yeah, that's the update for the current iteration. Are there any questions? Then, thank you, and I will give the screen back.
Thank you, Nils. All right, we will jump down to Shruti, code owner removal proposal.
Yes, hey everyone. Let me share my screen. I wanted to go over a quick proposal. We've been thinking about code ownership. And while we have in the past, we've added processes to vote on members and add them. We don't have a formal process to remove members from the code owner list. And I wanted to add that to the contributing guidelines. So can everybody see my screen at the moment?
No, it's not shared.
I don't see it.
Ah, okay.
It's coming up.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, you will have to copy it. Yeah, it will not work like that.
I guess the linking. So I wanted to just add a small subsection to the contributing guidelines that there are two ways existing code owners can be removed. One, if they wish to leave the approvers team, they could just send a request to, I put in Kendall's name there because she has the admin privileges there. And periodically, if we see that some members on the team, on either of the approvers team, are not actively reviewing, I think the other team members should have the right to start a vote to clear that up, because it improves the process of one, keeping the code owner list include contributors who are actively reviewing code. Also, it makes the job easy in adding new team members, because in the past we've had issues where if you're voting to add a new code owner to a team, there are not enough votes come in because some people are just inactive. So instead of bugging them and trying to figure out who's active and reaching out and trying to get them to vote, if the code owner list stays healthy and active, that process would be much smoother. So wanted to bring this up for vote and get feedback on what others think. Or if there are some other conditions or other approaches that we should try.
I think this is a valuable improvement to the overall community charter because of the ways that that code owners who are missing in action can cause things to bog down. And I wonder about situations where an approver's team is functionally empty.
Say again, Lucas, what the last point?
I wonder about situations where an approver's team is basically empty. Like, how would that be?
Right. Hopefully we can avoid that by, like, when the last approver is getting removed, we don't end up with an empty situation. And I think that's why I also put in a time check here that, okay, we should do this done at least once every year. And I believe it's not formally there, but any TSC member or any members on the code owner group should highlight that oh, if they're the only person on the team, then we should revisit whether that team is even required or it can be merged, because that also creates a bottleneck. I know we had that issue with one of the previous, like one of the earlier revision I did to the code owners team was when we removed we had approvers XWF, and that had just one code owner. And then we reached out to that person and this decided that that code is not being maintained, and we should just clean it up. Any healthy part of the project should have more than one code owner and an active code base.
Yeah, I think this makes sense, Ruti.
So if maybe we can give it, we can vote on it on the next call, or we can do an offline vote and let folks think about it until the end of this week, and then Kendall, we can vote on this next meeting.
Yep. Okay. That sounds good to me.
I'll also put this on the announcements, or yeah, I'll put it on the announcements so folks can see that we are creating this proposal and they can comment on it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ruti.
Thank you.
Okay, and the other agenda item, it sounds like we've already discussed. So are there any other topics that people would like to bring up today? If not, then we can go ahead and end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.